Hey there, morning. Coming to you a little bit earlier than normal. I literally jumped out of bed and went and made some coffee because we are headed off for our little road trip up to Hot Springs, Arkansas today. So, it's going to be a very long day in the car, and I just knew that I was not going to get the opportunity to come say hi any other part of the day. So, here we are. It's going to be a relatively quick conscious coffee because the clan is going to be getting here. There are 15 of us going up, and we rented a cabin in the woods. Hopefully it doesn't turn out to be like Cabin in the Woods. Nobody ends up missing or in multiple pieces. That would be kind of scary. But we do have a beautiful cabin on the golf course, just off of the lake outside of Hot Springs Village. So it's going to be a very fun trip for the next couple days. But before, I wanted to come over here and just discuss. I was standing there making coffee, and last night I was having a conversation about handicaps and handicaps in life. I'm not talking about different kinds of handicaps as far as, although it's probably what's going to end up coming up, different sort of handicaps. But there is this belief, and I hear it from so many different people. Oh, I just can't do this. Oh, I just can't do that because I have blah, 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 blah going on, right? And that is a self-imposed handicap that we all do it. We all put these handicaps on ourselves. And yesterday I was actually having a discussion, and we were talking about children and the upbringing of children. And I was saying, just it really is that what I've seen through the course. I used to actually, little tidbit that a lot of people don't know about me, in my early teen years, my parents actually were friends with this care providers of Down syndrome people who, they had this whole, gosh, I think they probably were fostering, I'm going to just put it like that. They were raising, they had a house of like 7 or 8 individuals who had Down syndrome, and it was very interesting as a child to, I hung out with them and everything like that. And there were a couple kids in there that were obviously favorites, right? You could say they were favorites. They could get away with a lot more things, just like any children. We do tend to have our favorites. We make, allowances for them and such. So no matter what is going on mentally or physically with somebody, and here's the thing, anytime mentally or physically something's going on with somebody, doesn't much matter. If we apply a favoritism to that person and we go, oh no, we're going to baby that person in some fashion, then what we're doing is we're creating another handicap. We're creating a handicap that is by far worse than the handicap that they might actually physically, mentally have. And here's the thing, we do this to ourselves. We favoritize ourselves, and yet we shame ourselves, guilt ourselves, think that we're not worthy, do all this different stuff. But we are creating these handicaps by playing favorite with ourselves in a negative aspect. And it's kind of interesting to watch because, like, back to the children, I was talking about this conversation yesterday, and I was talking about, like right now I know some children that are going through some really stressful emotional and physical stuff going on. It's a case where, there's potential sexual abuse, there's potential physical abuse, everywhere from malnutrition and just not being cared for to actual other more serious things. And these kids, I witnessed them about a year and a half ago when I first met these kids, and they were very well behaved children. They were respectful and nice, and yeah, did they do little kid, mess ups? Of course they did. They did do that just like any other children. They got into trouble. They did normal kid stuff. And then fast forward, and we're now a year in, and the person who actually is responsible for some of these abuse things, has them in their care right now a lot of the time. And that's a whole nother story, court stuff going on and everything there. A lot of, proving and disproving going on. That's not what this is about. But what I have noticed over the course of the last 90 days is these children becoming unruly, absolutely unruly. And it's just gotten to a point where it's like, me personally, I'm having tough time even, I love them to death, but at the same time, my irritation and frustration is causing a separation there where I feel myself pulling away from them. And it is because of the attitudes and the just complete and total disrespect and not listening at extreme levels. We're talking extreme levels here. So, what has happened is that there has now been created a handicap. A handicap has been created because the belief is, they are acting out because of the trauma and abuse that is taking place. Very, very possible. I actually think that has a lot to do with it. Yes, absolutely. But when you take something like this, and what is kind of going on is now there is this favoritism happening of, don't get mad at them. You have a little bit more heart, a little bit more compassion. Be easy on them because they're going through this, so they can't help it. They can't do this. It's just like, have a little bit more heart there. Be a little bit more compassionate there about this or that. Okay. Compassion is one thing. Empathy and sympathy are different things than compassion. To be compassionate is to understand what is going on, but not just cave to it, okay? Not just cave to it and just let it completely impact you. Empathy is to feel something that is going on and to really pull it into yourself and just take on the energy of it to a degree for yourself, okay? And then sympathy is kind of more like, I'm having pity on you. I look at sympathy as a real true play of the ego, and it is a separation of, you're down there and I'm up here. Oh, I feel so sorry for you. That's kind of like, that's coming at it from like, I'm going to push you down over here, okay? So I'm not a big advocate of sympathy. Empathy, we all have it and do it sometimes, but we've got to watch out. A lot of the times I see people that go, oh, I'm an empath, I'm empathetic towards, as if it's a good thing, and you got to just nip that shit in the butt if that's what's going on. You've got to learn how to ground and separate and really put up proper boundaries for that stuff. But then you have compassion. And compassion is a beautiful space to be in, to be compassionate, but still to be strong in self. Okay, so if you're compassionate, that does not mean that you're going to apply a handicap, an extended handicap, to somebody else, okay? So we come back to children here that I'm talking about, because I think that's a really good example of it. And I don't know, raised 7 kids, so I'm not too much on sympathy. I can be empathetic, but I'm more compassionate, and I just don't let my kids completely be unruly in different levels. No matter what they're going through, I always go, you're not being your best self, and so I'll inquire with them. Is this your highest and best, And here's the thing, when we run into the empathetic or sympathy route and we apply this extra handicap to somebody else, in this instance to these children, what we end up getting is we get children that basically believe that they are running the whole show and that they are untouchable, they are unstoppable in a very negative fashion. So they have absolutely they're not showing signs of remorse, they're not showing signs of understanding or caring in any fashion. There's no reprimand, there's no reason. So they're not getting any reason as to why they should not do it. And as small children, You know, it's like, hey, as long as I can get away with it, as long as I can do this, and as long as I can do that, and no, everybody's like, oh, it's okay because you're so troubled. We do this as adults too. It's okay because you're going through. You know, it's okay that you're being a total ass right now because you're really going through a tough time. So you can abuse me because you're going through a tough time. That's what ends up happening. Okay, that's what ends up happening. And here's the thing. We all have these moments of being an ass. We all have these moments of being handicapped and inflicting our suffering, our pain onto somebody else, towards somebody else. But just because we're going through something does not give us the right, it does not make it okay to inflict pain on another person at any potential level. When we lash out towards another person and then we go, well, it's just because I'm feeling bad. It's just because, you know, I'm mourning. It's just because I'm really stressed out. It's just because we're taking zero responsibility for our thinking, our emotions, and our actions. We're putting all of our power onto this outside source of whatever the drama is, okay? Whatever the stress, the pain is. And now it is the holder, the captivator of our power, and we are victims in this, okay? So you have to realize that that's what creates that victim status, that victim energy. And when we walk through life with this victim mentality, what we end up doing is causing destruction to happen, separation, kind of like me saying, you know, now that I'm around these kids and this is going on and they're being put into this handicapped position of, well, you just don't understand, they're in this, they're going through this stuff, that's why they're acting like that. So I actually know they need firm love as well as, you know, soft love. They need a little bit of both of it. They need to have the discipline. They need to have to know where the boundaries are, where the hard stops are. They have to understand that there is a reaction for every action that they take. They have to understand that there, you know, you can't just go and do all this stuff and it's okay, because that's raising children who will turn into adults who are consistently like that as well. Kind of almost like a very narcissistic pattern can be formed from that kind of upbringing when we create these false handicaps onto our children, or in adult life when we do it for ourselves, right? So here's the thing. We all get into victim mode. We all make excuses, create these handicaps for ourselves. And really, truly, it is the excuse stuff of, well, you just don't understand. I'm going through this. I can't do this because of, or I did that because of. And I'm going to encourage you today to take a moment and do a little bit of reflection if you're going through something, and ask yourself, am I showing up the way I would want somebody to treat me? Am I showing up like that with the people in my life? Or am I creating a self-imposed handicap on myself? Am I stepping into victim mode and allowing this outside source, this outside experience, this drama, this trauma, this stressor to actually hold my power? Am I allowing it to hold my power, and am I giving myself over to it instead of going, no, I've got to take care of this myself? Right? Psychological analysis of traumatic experiences. Thank you. So, really, you know, if you step into, sorry, I was reading comments there. I was seeing a couple people on. Reading comments. Look at the comments if you're wondering why all of a sudden, what is he saying? I want you really to look at that, because here's the thing. We are all wounded. We all have our share of trauma. And I'm pretty sure none of us would really want to trade off too much of, you know, like if you lined 100 people up in a room and you said, okay, we're going to switch everybody's everybody's trauma around here, and you get the number that you draw, you get their trauma and they get yours and all this kind of stuff. The reality is that we all have trauma, and how we each deal with it, what is traumatic to one person is not traumatic to another person, or we cope differently with it. It might impact one completely different than the other. So it's like, take comparison out of there. And if you read my article about comparison the other day too, it's just like, don't compete about things. It's just own yourself and stop trying to compete. There's more than enough good stuff for everybody, and all you do is bring yourself into a really negative vibe when you get into this, oh, well, my trauma is bigger and badder than yours. Why are you trying to pull up all this stuff from your past? Because that trauma is not happening right now, right? A lot of the times, now for some of us, trauma is consistently happening right now, and in that case, step the fuck up and get yourself out of that situation. You don't have to be the victim any longer. You can own it and you can step out of it. Now, I'm talking to the rest of us who have had traumatic things happen in our past. Every single time we go back and we say, oh, my trauma is worse than yours. Oh, you just don't understand what I've been through. Here's what we're doing. What we're doing is we're like, oh, where is that beat up old luggage that I'm carrying around that I really, really hate, that makes me feel like crap, that brings me down? Oh, I'm going to pull it up here, and I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to start sorting through stuff, and I'm going to start trying on these old energies. I'm going to start trying on these old thoughts, these old emotions, because I'm going to live it right now. When we bring it back up to the table right here, we are actually re-anchoring some of those old emotions into our current present moment. And what are we doing? All right, beautiful conscious people out there. What we're doing is we are taking our energy from what might have been relatively good, like up here vibrating in better positive energy, or maybe we're like right in the middle ground, or maybe we're flying high, maybe we get scared of flying too high, so we pull up this old luggage. I go, bring that shit down, right? So we bring ourselves down. We lower our vibration by pulling up our old shit consistently and re-looking at it and going, hey, what about this? What about this? You don't understand. Let me show it to you. Let me tell you about it. Let me explain to you why I'm scared here. Let me explain to you why I'm struggling here. It's because I'm this. It's because what we're doing is we're going, I have this weight on me. I have this trouble inside of me, and I'm going to let it hold me back. But I'm going to explain to you as to why I'm letting it hold me back. Okay? Because our experiences is our history. Yes, our experiences are our history, but our future does not have to be our history. It's like you remember your history, but anytime you re-pull it up consistently, you're bringing that energy of it with you. I see this so much with people, and I got to get off of here because I actually have a whole car to pack and stuff. I'm responsible for a car today. But when we pull it back up, and what I see with different people, like in relationships and stuff, I'll work with somebody and they'll say, I keep having the same stuff happen over and over again with different people. It's this repeated, there's a bunny going through my yard. There's this repeat of energy, of attitude. Like, I have this one woman I work with, and she consistently dates narcissists. Like, that's just it. She's like, what is it? It's like everybody, this raging narcissist out there. I'm like, all right, well, we all have a little bit of narcissistic characteristics, like we're human, and that's part of, like, we all get into this every now and then. But she's talking about, like, these are, like, full-blown, there's no helping them narcissists, okay? So this is what she dates. She dates that. Now, number one, she's naturally attracted to it because of her history. Number two, she is consistently freaking out about dating a narcissist at this level, so she is drawing in nothing but these narcissists into her life, because where attention goes, energy flows. What we focus on is what we call in. That is what ends up happening, right? So she is focusing in on narcissist. The universe, God, is not hearing, I don't want a narcissist, but it's hearing narcissist. And so, boom, here's a narcissist, boom, here's a narcissist, boom, here's a narcissist. She's like, oh my gosh, what the heck? Well, it is her history, her experience back here, and she's holding herself in it. And if you're listening to this, I love you, but it is, it is this energy back here of holding at this level and not letting it go. Going, no, you just don't understand, but this is what has happened. I don't want this to happen. I don't want this to happen. I don't want this to That is creating a handicap energetically in our lives. It is because it is mentally handicapping us. It is holding us at an old belief, an old way of being, an old experience, and it is not opening us up to our true expansion, our true potential, our possibilities that we have, because we are being held back to that. So the way through any of this is, no matter what the trauma is, and take it from somebody who has experienced a couple rapes in her life, who's had some massive stinking traumas in her life, from physical abuse and mental and emotional, a narcissist, all that kind of stuff, could have massive daddy issues going on, because my dad left when I was 16, had, struggled poverty, all this different stuff, had horrible body image issues, got 7 kids. If I wanted to use them as an excuse, I could say, hey, I have this massive handicap of, I've had years of being a single mother with children and all this different stuff. I could say all of that. I could say, you know what, I've struggled physically with different things that are going on. I could rack up the whole list. Here's the thing. I've learned through the course of time that none of that is going to serve me. None of it is going to get me to where I want to be. None of it is going to help me build the life that I want, or provide the life that I want for my children, or to be the person that I want to be, so that I can coach and can touch lives the way that I want. I want to make a positive ripple into the world, not a negative ripple into the world. Therefore, I choose to not let that past stuff affect me as much as I possibly can. Does it still come up and bite me in the butt occasionally? Absolutely. I'm human. It comes up, I get into moods, I get triggered, and I have to work through it. But I can tell you that by going in and doing the different inner work that I work with people on in my coaching and stuff, what I've learned over the course of the last 25 years, and I always say it, I now move through something in 20 minutes that would have taken me 2 months to move through in the past, because I would have gotten caught on something, and it would have just ended up spiraling out of control and actually created a physical handicap for me to be able to move forward in my life, to be able to take the steps in certainty that I know that I should be taking. I would be hesitant to do anything. I'd be walking in fear and in doubt instead of in certainty and in faith. Instead of providing myself grace and compassion, I would have been shaming myself and guilting myself. I would have been blaming outside sources and instead of taking responsibility for self. So there is lots of things that we can do, and I can tell you that no matter what, because I've worked with people that has had some horrific starts to their life, some very serious trauma back there, and I've witnessed people that, if you really want to create a life, the one big thing that you have to really recognize is, how am I handicapping myself? How am I handicapping myself with my beliefs, with my thinking, with my emotional state, with the actions that come from those things? Because when we hold back that kind of ourselves in that kind of way, we really do put the leash on ourselves. And here's the thing. We're the only ones that can take the bondage off of us. We're the only ones that can break free of it. And it really does just take this, it is just a thought of, I'm going to commit to me, and then doing the internal work and practice to get yourself out of that kind of crappy thinking and into a better positive light. So I do encourage you today to kind of analyze and look back at some of the things, where you're at. Look at, what triggers you. Become aware of that. Become a little bit more present, conscious, aware, whatever you want to say there. As to, when something happens, how do you end up reacting, and how reactive are you to others that have not even hurt you? They're not the ones that hurt you, yet we tend to react and cause pain to other people that are not even guilty of doing anything. So look at how am I showing up when I get triggered? There you go. It's actually a really great prompt right there. How am I showing up when I get triggered around an emotional event, or how am I showing up around a trigger that pulls up a past trauma or issue, challenge in my past? Okay. yeah, I think that's about. I am going to be doing Conscious Coffee from Arkansas. Beautiful, beautiful, like I said, cabin in the woods that we're going to. So tons and tons of trees. If any of you caught any of my Conscious Coffees from Arkansas back in, I think it was April when I was up there. I was teaching a workshop up there, which is available online actually. But yeah, it's a beautiful background. Beautiful, just scenic, great background and everything. So you'll be seeing lots of stuff from there. I'll make sure to post pictures and do a whole bunch of shares from Hot Springs. So if you are never been to Hot Springs, you might want to go, because it is actually a really lovely destination. I never thought that I would actually say I really want to go to Arkansas. Never ever did I think that I would put that on my summer list of places to go, but it's there. It's a good location. So okay, guys. Yeah, I'll catch you tomorrow morning. Look for an article to come out. If I said anything in this Conscious Coffee that was helpful, supportive, made you think of somebody like, hey, that person really needs to listen to this, hit the share button on Conscious Coffee. Help me get these messages out. Help me build Conscious Coffee following more than what it already is, although I love everybody that is popping on and all the messages. I thank you for your comments. I thank you for your loves, your likes, and of course your shares, and just joining in as you do. So I love you guys, and I will catch you tomorrow with another Conscious Coffee. As always, you can follow me at www.kendalwilliams.com. Stop existing, start living, and I will see you tomorrow from Hot Springs, Arkansas. Bye, everybody.